What's up, YouTube? KS Gun Guy here. I posed a question in the title of this video, and I'm not trying to incite any sort of a riot or anything like that, but I am genuinely curious to know your opinion about Glocks as they stand at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. Where do they fit in a gamut of options of firearms? So before I talk about this, a couple of things. Thank you very much for checking in, and thanks for your continued support. I appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and share the video as you will. And just as importantly, if not more importantly, in this video, leave a comment. I want to know what you think about this, because I'm asking the question not because I have an answer, but because I'm genuinely curious to know how people feel about Glocks right now, with so many choices out there, and you've got several in front of you right now, and I'll talk a little bit about these, not a lot, but just a little bit. This isn't any sort of a review. I'll wheel in a little bit of shooting here and there just to keep things kind of fun, but this is more about asking the question. So the very first video that I did, very first review that I did just a little less than a month ago was the Glock 19, specifically this Glock 19. And this is still one of my favorite guns of all time. It's been a great gun. It's been a lot of fun to shoot at the range, and I think I'll never get rid of it. The only reason I would consider getting rid of this one is to replace it with maybe another one that's got some different features or something like that, a little bit more unique looking. I mean, this is pretty plain Jane Gen 4 with a few tweaks here and there, like the barrel, whatever. But by and large, it's the same thing. So in a lot of the reviews that I've done about this gun and some of the other guns like the SIGs and Smith & Wessons, that sort of thing, one thing that I continually say and continually knock Glock for are the sights. They're polymer sights, and one of the very first things most people do with their Glocks is they change out their sights. So when I'm thinking about do Glocks suck, I'm really thinking from a value standpoint, where do they fit in? And also from an evolution standpoint, where do they fit in? This is a Gen 4, which means there have been three other generations that have come before this, starting back in the early 80s with the Gen 1, with the Glock 17, and going forward from there. And there have been minor changes and tweaks here and there throughout the generations, landing on the Gen 4 with a couple of different features on it, one of which is a little bit better stippling or grip texture on the grip, just by a little bit, these little pyramids right here, and they've got the finger grooves, which actually a lot of people don't care for. A lot of people end up milling them back off, and a lot of people end up stippling the grip because they don't feel like this provides enough texture. It fits fine for me. This fits better for me than the Glock 17, which has a little bit bigger frame, so it works for me fine from an ergonomic standpoint, but it's not great. Especially after being exposed to other current firearms out there. Again, I'll talk about some of these other ones. The ergonomics on the Glock, they aren't great. They're good, but they aren't great. The grip degree, it has a slightly different cant to it, so getting used to shooting on point with a Glock can be a little bit different for people unless they start out with Glocks or spend a lot of time with them. So that's another consideration. Another change with the Gen 4, they put a slightly bigger magazine release here, and that's fine. The Gen 3s and previous ones, it was a little bit smaller, but it was doable. But otherwise, the Glock has remained pretty much unchanged. And right now, in my area, finding a brand new Gen 4 Glock, you're going to be spending somewhere in the I'm going to ballpark this, but from what I've seen, kind of in the $575 to $625 range, and the higher being with maybe the MOS, so it is cut out for a red dot sight, which is okay. I mean, it's a minor tweak. It's not revolutionary by any means. But anyway, so you're talking around $600 or so plus tax for a brand new Glock 19. Well, I did a video very recently of the SIG P320 Compact, and clearly this is a pretty popular gun because it's got the most reviews of any of my videos, and which is awesome. I mean, it's a beautiful gun. It's a great gun. I was a little surprised that it had the most, but that's kind of telling to me. Another reason why I wanted to post this video. So the SIG out of the box, this one is the FDE model all the way around, and it's got the SIG light night sights on it, and I picked it up for around $600 plus tax. So again, we're right in the same ballpark as the Glock, but I'm getting better sights. I'm getting a pretty attractive gun, and it's a modular gun because you can take out the trigger mechanism and put it into different frames, or even a different caliber, different size. So there's kind of a neat niche there with the SIG P320, and it's ergonomic. It's not terribly different from the Glock, but it's very comfortable in the hand. I mean, it's got a little bit better groove cut out for your thumb here on both sides, and it's still got a fine mag release. The grip texture is fine. It's a little bit slick, I'd say, but still certainly doable. You don't have to do anything with the grip of this, and of course you could get a large grip frame if that was a concern to you. But otherwise, this is by the way, it is unloaded. Of course, all of these guns are unloaded. It's a fine gun, and for about the same amount of money, there's a lot of value in this, and in this day and age, I think we pay attention to value as much as we do about brand loyalty or anything else. So, another review I did not too long ago. This is the Smith & Wesson full size. This is the VTAC. And again, this fell right around the 600, maybe a little bit more than 600, but not by much. And again, it's an incredibly ergonomic firearm. It's very well built, very robust. It's got a great mag release on it. Plenty of grip texture here. Some people say that it's a little bit slick. I still would like to find the Pro or the Core version of the backstrap, which has a little bit more aggressive stippling. That would be pretty cool. But otherwise, I think there's enough grip and enough texture in here to really keep a pretty firm grip on the firearm. And then the sights, it's got these VTAC or Viking tactical sights with the fiber optic and the night sights in them. Kind of a funky sight lineup a little bit. Takes a little while to get used to, but there's a lot of value in that. So again, we're in the $650 range plus tax, and you're getting quite a bit of bang for your buck with that. A review coming up here shortly. This is the HK VP9, and this is in their FDE. Now, admittedly, I don't call this FDE. I think this is a little bit more OD green, or maybe Gerber baby food green, but they call it FDE. Fine, whatever works for them. I still think it's kind of cool, and it's a little bit different than the straight black model. And the ergonomics on the VP9, admittedly, and this is just my opinion, these are some of the best ergonomics I've ever felt. This is actually my second VP9 that I've owned, and the first one I had a lot of fun with, but it just wasn't the right gun at the right time. So I found this just a few weeks ago and decided, man, I have to get this, not only because it's got the different color frame on it, but again, the ergonomics are incredible. And then these sights, these are the True Glow TFX Pros with the fiber optic and the night sights, and they've got the extra little bead or extra little outlining white here in front, so super easy to pick up. And the trigger on this gun as well as on the SIG are both just tremendous triggers. The M&P is good. It's not great, but it's good. And then the Glock trigger is a Glock trigger, unless you do any work on it. And Glock triggers are fine, but again, at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, I think probably their triggers could be just a little bit better without having to do a lot of work, unless that's just something you really dig doing. This has had to have some work done to it. It's got a ghost connector and heavily polished internals, and that has helped it. It's a smoother trigger. I enjoy shooting it. It makes for easy follow-up shots, but again, I've had to do a lot of work, whereas these are all straight out of the box. And then lastly, and I know this is kind of apples to oranges based on size, this is a subcompact, and this is the XD Mod 2 that I just picked up. I clearly am in an FDE theme right now here, but I just think they're kind of sharp looking, the black and the FDE. So this isn't a compact version; it's a subcompact. But again, it's the same deal. The ergonomics are absolutely unbelievable on this gun. Very comfortable. I shot it the other night, and I felt like I couldn't miss the target. I mean, it was just a sweet shooter. The trigger on it, again, unloaded. The trigger on it is just fantastic. There's a lot of air in there, so it takes a while to get to the brake, and a little bit of air between, the wall, and a little bit of air between the brake and getting to the wall again. However, it's a very smooth trigger and very easy to shoot. Once again, the sights, these are going to be steel sights. They've got fiber optic up front and the white dot in the back, and they're serrated for glare. And so it just good quality gun, and this one I think I picked up for under $500, and it came with all the frills and everything with it, including a extended magazine that really puts it in the compact range, at least from a grip standpoint. So again, just some examples, and there are other ones as well. Walther, like the PPQ, that's another one people really tout, not only for one of the best striker triggers out there, but also very ergonomic, a lot like the HK. So I've harped a lot on things like sights and ergonomics, but there are some other things that are very similar between all of these guns. Things like the accessory rail for lights, lasers, and grenade launchers, that sort of thing. Pretty robust finishes on all of them, so all of them are pretty darn durable. And all of their other features are basically the same between the takedowns and slide releases, that sort of thing. I mean, the Glock has a little bit different takedown lever on it, but it's the same idea. And then the components inside the guns are all the same. There's a frame, barrel, guide rod and spring, and your slide. Yeah, when you break them down a little bit further, then things start to get a little bit more different with each one, but otherwise the components are pretty much the same. So again, there isn't anything terribly special about the Glock. Now, it's not that there's anything terribly special about any of these others in front of you or some of those other great guns out there, but it just means that that Glock isn't necessarily standing on top of the hill or quite so far up, I suppose, as Glock used to be. So in that ballpark, $550 to $650 range, or maybe a couple of dollars more, is Glock as good as it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago? I still love the Glock. I still think it's a great gun. But I feel like there's some things that they need to do to bring them into, we'll say, modern times here. Like at least steel sights, if not maybe some night sight options. I know there are Glock night sights. They kind of suck. They're not that good, and they're not very easy to get a hold of. They don't come standard. It's a little bit more difficult to get that as an option. But you're still spending around that $575, $600 range or a little bit more for the polymer sights, and the average ergonomics, I'd say maybe you get 3 magazines, that's fine, but Glock magazines aren't very expensive, so there's not a lot of value add to that. So a lot of options out there. Is Glock still relevant? Is it still your favorite if it ever was? If not, what is your favorite? I'm really curious to know what you think about Glocks, and do they suck? For me, short answer, no. Long answer, maybe it's a little bit more complicated. I don't think I'd go as far as to say they suck, but I think they've got some work to do to come of age, so to speak, for maybe a Gen 5, and I'm not talking about this M, I guess 19M or 17M that's coming out and already in the hands of some law enforcement. There have been some tweaks to that, but I'm looking for something a little bit more evolutionary rather than revolutionary. So I want to hear your thoughts and opinions, and once again, thanks for joining me. Please subscribe, and share the videos. I'm on Facebook now, so check out KS Gun Guy on Facebook, and I want to hear your thoughts. So let me know what you think, and otherwise, have a great day. Thanks.